Madam Yvonne Chua, President of Licensing Executives Society International, Mr. Sergei Dorofeyev, the President of Licensing Executives Society LES Russia, Dobry Utro, Mr. Valery Medvedev, the Chair of the Organizing Committee of the 2014 Licensing Executive Societies International Conference. A very good morning to you all. First of all, let me express my deep regrets at not having been able to be present personally with you at this extremely important conference that is taking place in Moscow. In the beautiful, I would say, vibrant and historical city of Moscow, and that is one of the first reasons why I regret not being present. I regret also not having the opportunity to see so many friends from LES on this occasion. And I regret also not having the opportunity to participate in such an impressive program. At WIPO, we value deeply the relationship that we have with LES. It's a long-standing relationship that goes back many years. We, as an organization, rely on the engagement of our stakeholders, and one of the major parts of our stakeholder community is, of course, the enterprise sector. And so we rely very much on the engagement of LES, and I'm very grateful for the commitment that has been shown to WIPO by LES and all of our friends in LES over the years. There are many examples of that cooperation that we've had, the very successful cooperation, and it continues principally in the form of your willingness as professionals to share your experience and knowledge with many people throughout the world through our joint programs and activities. And we're very grateful for that. Last week I had the honour to be reappointed to a second term as Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization, and allow me to share with you, if I may, two main thoughts that I mentioned in accepting that appointment with the member states. The first thought was that I believe as an organisation, WIPO faces as its main challenge the task of developing a shared vision amongst the membership of the value and contribution of intellectual property to economic, social and cultural development. There are many obstacles, we know, that lie in the path of the development of such a shared vision throughout the world. For one, there are the different competitive interests in an economy in which the knowledge and technology intensive industries now account for 30% of global economic output. Secondly, there are the asymmetries that we know that exist throughout the world, asymmetries of wealth, of opportunity, and especially of information and of knowledge. There are historical and contemporary trust deficits that exist amongst the membership. And now there is the reality of a multi-speed and a multi-tiered world in which multilateralism, while being the expression, the highest expression of inclusiveness and legitimacy, is nevertheless the slowest solution in a very fast-moving world. So that was my first main thought, this complex task of constructing a shared vision. The other thought that I mentioned also in my speech was that the politics of intellectual property are, in my view, becoming more rather than less challenging. But this is not, I believe, a disturbing development. On the contrary, I think it's a natural consequence of the increased economic value of intangibles and innovation, and of the mission of intellectual property of finding the right balance or equilibrium between all of the interests, the complex interests, economic and social, that surround the acts of innovation and creativity in the contemporary world. Why do I mention these 2 points? I mention them because I think that licensing provides an unparalleled opportunity to be an instrument that constructs a shared vision of the value and contribution of intellectual property, and also of softening some of the politics around the competitive interests that exist concerning intellectual property. As you know better than I, licensing is essentially a sharing mechanism. It is the principal market-based knowledge and technology sharing mechanism. So it is the mechanism which creates relationships between people around intellectual property for the exploitation and use of intellectual property for the benefit, ultimately, of the economy and society. We see through our reports that licensing, international licensing, the value of international licensing is rising all the time. In our estimations, between 2005 and 2012, between that period, the value of international licensing rose 1.7 times to 242 billion United States dollars. And that's a conservative estimate because it doesn't include a lot of intra-firm licensing that occurs and which accounts for a large value indeed. We know that the reasons why licensing is increasing in importance as an activity. It's of course internationally. It's of course a consequence of the increased interaction that is taking place with globalization, the increased trade, the open markets, the increased interconnections brought about by the internet. It's also a consequence of open innovation, and open innovation in turn has been inspired by all of that increased interconnectedness that we see as a consequence of globalization. And open innovation is, generally speaking, as you all know, the mode in which enterprises look outside increasingly in order to satisfy their research and development needs and their innovation needs as much as they look internally in order to satisfy those innovation needs. So licensing is an essential mechanism in building a shared vision of the value and contribution of intellectual property. We all know also that licensing is only successful if it benefits both parties to the license. The mechanism for payment, royalties, only come about if the licensee is successful with the use of the technology. The licensing fee royalties are calculated, of course, by reference to some measure of success in the licensee's exercise, whether it's sales or output or profit. So it is a relationship which is very much a shared and mutually supportive relationship, and thus its value in constructing the shared vision. As we go forward at WIPO in the course of the next 6 years, while I'll be around, there are many, many priorities. I'm not going to go into them any further now, except to say that one of those priorities will be to retain the engagement and commitment of the enterprise sector and industry to the organisation and its objectives. And chief amongst this, we will look to the Licensing Executive Society because it has been such a good friend of WIPO's over the years. There are many of you present that I would have liked to have seen. And lastly, let me say that you have given me a great honour by deciding to award the LES Gold Medal to me. It's another reason for which I regret that I'm not present in Moscow with you now. It is really a privilege to receive this, and thank you to all of my friends in LES for your very charitable view of my contribution. And I wish you every success with the conference. Thank you.